Good morning. So, very busy here at my house, all things gardening. So, today I am going to show you several things. First of all, we're going to look at wildflower seeds, and it is finally cool enough, and we got a rain. So, it's finally the time to put out my wildflower seeds. I'm also going to harvest my basil plant. I'm going to pull off all the leaves and I'm going to show you a quick recipe for making pesto. And also I'm going to show you the progress of my amaryllis bulbs. They are popping up. It is so exciting. And I'm going to show you a little cheat that you can do to help your amaryllis bulbs pop up a little quicker. All right, so let's get started. Lots to cover today. So I have an area in my backyard that I think is going to be perfect for planting wildflower seeds. And I'll show you that in just a second. And I recently took a trip out to Fredericksburg, Texas, and I visited the wild seed farm there. And I bought a package of wildflower seeds. And on the back, there are about 20 or 30 different wildflower seeds listed here. And they say that you need to keep them moist. And when the little seedlings pop up, you still need to keep them moist. And then they will freeze with the first frost that we have. And that's what they need. They need to have that stratification cold period. And then in the spring, they're supposed to pop up and be just glorious. And they also need not to be trampled by my big dogs. So I have found an area, and I'll show you here in a minute, that I have fenced off because of my dogs. And I am going to do a little bit of ground preparation before we scatter them, and then you just water and wait. The other seed I'm planting is bluebonnets. I picked up a package of bluebonnets there too. And these are so easy. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to pan around here on the ground to show you. I put in bluebonnets last year, and they are everywhere right now. They're just little teeny tiny seedlings, and I'm going to show you what a bluebonnet seedling looks like so you don't accidentally pull them out thinking they're weeds. And they do not want to be planted in good garden soil in a nice pretty garden. They want to get in your rockiest, roughest part of your yard, and that's where your bluebonnets will be happy. The only thing they can't survive is being trampled on by big dogs and kids. So that's the thing. Once you start seeing them pop up, you might want to lay a little bit of fencing, just lay fencing right over it and tell kids and dogs don't walk there. Okay, let me show you where I'm putting my wildflower seeds. Okay, so I have shown you my pollinator garden multiple times. This is about 20 feet long. This is where my purple Greg's Mist plant is free to spread. They spread by rhizomes, so it is somewhat invasive. It pulls out easily if you get it somewhere you don't want it. But I am so happy it fills this huge space. This is about 20 feet long, and the butterflies love it. It's the favorite flower here in the garden. And then right in front of this was just a walking trail, and I also had some cement pavers. So what I've decided is this is going to be my wildflower patch where I am going to sprinkle my seeds. So I have extended my fence. So this little green, it's only like 2 feet tall, was here in front of the pollinator garden to keep the dogs out of here. Now I've just backed it out a little bit so you can still walk along the cement pavers, but this is going to be the area for wildflowers, and I can keep those dogs out. So I just took the little stakes and I pulled them out about 2 to 3 feet and pounded them back in, and I have a nice safe place for the wildflowers to grow. The next thing I'm going to do is just take my rake and I'm just going to rough up the ground a little bit. And it is really wet in here because we had a nice rain. We got an inch of rain yesterday, and it's a really great start for the bluebonnets. I will have to make sure that the wildflowers stay moist all the way until we get the first freeze, which will be sometime middle of December. And then that will kill the tops off. And then in the spring, those roots are still there, growing and getting established. And then they will supposedly give me a beautiful array of wildflowers all across this area. So this is an experiment for me. It's an experiment worth taking. And so let's get going and see what happens. So the first thing I'm going to do is rough up the soil only about 1 inch. Okay, so now I've roughed up the ground. I've just got some rake grooves there, just like not even an inch down. So wildflower planting is supposed to be easy. I also tried to pull out some of the grass. If we have a big fail, it's probably because there's too much grass here. But really it is quite barren of grass. There is some. But when I start adding some of this water, I might end up with more grass than I thought. But, you know, this is my trial year, and we'll just see how it goes. Let me get closer, and I'll show you the grooves. So you can see that they're only about 1 inch to 1/2 inch deep, just enough for those seeds to catch on. Okay, so I am going to just toss out these wildflower seeds, just willy-nilly here and there, and then I'm going to step on them and sprinkle them in really well with water. Okay, so I've stomped around on the seeds up and down several times, and that's really supposed to be all you do. And then I will come back with my sprayer on the end of my hose, and I'm going to spray it in really well. And then I will do it again in a few days, depending on how quickly it dries out. But the point is, you do not want these little seedlings to ever be without water. So when they get about 2 inches tall, that's my most crucial time to make sure I keep them well watered. Because if those seedlings die, then the whole experiment is over. So I will do a good job, and I will make sure to keep everything watered. Then when we get our first freeze in a month, month and a half, everything on the top will go dormant, but underneath the roots are still working hard and viable. And then in the spring, I should have them all come up a second time, and they will be 2 and 3 feet tall all along this area, protected by my little fence here. And it should be really pretty. So I can't wait to see how it goes. I'll keep you apprised as the seedlings start popping up. And I do think I have a grass issue. I should have worked harder on removing more grass, but that's okay. They're wildflowers. They should be able to handle a little grass. All right, so now let me show you the bluebonnets. These are last year's bluebonnets that when the little seed pods exploded last year, late fall, they exploded all over in the gravel pathway, in the wood chips, and let me show you what they're doing. So last year I planted some small little bluebonnet plants that I found over at my local garden center, and I put them in here, and they became a little larger, and they had a few little bluebonnets on them. They were very exciting to me. And in about May, their little seed pods started turning yellow and then brown, and then they burst open and they spread their little seeds all over the place. None of them ended up in this nice, healthy soil. They ended up and much preferred this gravel pathway. Let me get a little closer and show you. Here they are, all over the gravel pathway. This is what they really wanted. And so I'm glad they found it all over the pathway. And these will continue growing all through the winter. So here it is, like middle of November, and they are starting to pop up. Here they are in the mulch, in some wood mulch I have. So that's what they prefer. Look, I'm going to have so many of them. Now, we are going to try not to step on these. I do have these nice pavers to step on, but dogs don't know that. So I may lay a piece of fencing, just lay some fencing down, and maybe the dogs will go around it. Okay, our next project this morning is basil. So let's go over and check that out. So I've been growing this basil plant all year long since early spring. I love to grow a basil. That's about the only thing I grow. I don't really grow any more vegetables, but I am going to get into that more. But one of the things I do, and I'm just curious to know whether you do, is whenever it starts flowering, I immediately pull that off because I don't want it to go to seed. I want it to keep making leaves. I love caprese, which is cheese and tomatoes and basil with a little bit of balsamic over it. I love to make pesto, and so I want more leaves and less of the flowers. But it's a losing battle right now because this plant knows that fall is coming, and it is really pushing hard to put all of these flowers out and go to seed. But there are lots of seeds in these flowers, so I just throw them on the ground, throw them back in the pot, and I usually end up with some baby basil plants to start over with next year. These are annuals, and they have to come back from seed every year. Okay, so I am going to take off every single leaf, and I have a colander here, and I've got scissors if necessary, and I'm just going to strip it of all of its leaves, and I'm going to take it inside, and I'm going to make basil. Let's get started. Okay, so I've got a nice big colander of basil, and my poor little plant is looking pretty bare, but you know, I might get a few more leaves, and so I am just glad that I got the leaves off before the first frost. I'm going to put up the recipe right here on the screen for my favorite pesto, and you can use pine nuts or you can use walnuts. I usually prefer walnuts for just a little more smoother taste. And I hope you'll make it. It's really good. It's a great way to use all those basil leaves. So let me know in the comments below if you try it, and if you have a better recipe than mine. I would love to know about it. I also want to show you the progress of my amaryllis bulbs. So 8 days ago, I took these out of the refrigerator and I potted them up in just plain potting soil, and I put them in front of the brightest window I have. And so after 8 days, I am going to bring the camera closer and show you that the first little hint of a stem is starting to show. And I'm going to also show you a cheat that I discovered from watching some videos from people in the Northeast. They put their amaryllis on top of their radiators to give them a head start, to warm them up. So let me show you what I found. Okay, so I am pointing the camera straight down to the tops of these bulbs. And if I show you inside here, look at that. See this little green leaf stem? There's one there. There's one here. And there's one here. What about this little bitty one here? And there's one, oh, I'm not sure about him yet. Maybe not yet. And this one doesn't seem to have anything going on yet down in there. So, but I am, oh wait, there's something right there. I am encouraged. So I think our experiment is working. And so I was going to show you, I have a seed starting mat. This heats up, you have to plug it in. So I have it plugged in right here. And it's a very low temperature mat. You start your seeds on it. And I have been, I put that underneath the bulbs. I have the bulbs on just my bench here, my outside bench. And I even put it on top of a board because I needed to raise it up so that it could get all the sun possible. But anyway, I am so encouraged, and I will keep showing you the progress as these amaryllis just get up and going and start making beautiful flowers for the Christmas season. And here we are 2 weeks later. Look at this. They are about 2 inches high. Isn't that exciting? These were in the refrigerator just 2 weeks ago. This one you can see down inside there. It's coming out. But this little baby one seems to be having a rough time. Oh, there's a little bit right there. All right. So every single one of them is getting started. And I would say that it's definitely this heating pad underneath it that's helping them get the message that it is warming up outside and start putting out your beautiful flowers. Okay, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.